Hello, everyone. My name is May Gates. I'm currently the co-executive director of the Black Student Assembly.
And my name is Jitty Hospitalis, and I'm the incoming co-president of Brothers Breaking Bread.
We are so excited to have you all here joining us tonight. I would just like to say that, of course, I grew up listening to all the old school classics, but by far and by large, Earth, Wind, and Fire has always been my parents' favorite, has been my favorite, so I am so excited to get this experience here with you all tonight. They have amazing things in store for us, and so we'll get right to it. But first, I'd just like to speak on Black Student Assembly, what we offer here on the USC campus. So Black Student Assembly has a core mission of being of service, being of support to all Black identifying students here on USC's campus. We have about 7 signature events that we throw annually, anywhere from Black Family Dinner over Trojan Family Weekend. We also have Gear Fest, which took place about 3 weeks ago, Mahogany Ball, which is coming up in about 2 weeks, and a Black History Month speaker. So this is our second time here in Bovard joining you all, so we're so excited. And we believe that this event that we've been invited to co-sponsor definitely serves the mission of Black Student Assembly, and we're happy to share in this experience with you all.
Yeah, hello everyone, and I want to thank you, like May, for being here. One of the things for me being here is so special because, like May, I grew up listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire. I knew songs like Reason, Let's Groove Tonight. My mom made sure I knew all the classics, so it was really cool to have them be here today. But on Brothers Breaking Bread, bread is an acronym in that title, and bread stands for barriers, regrets, egos, animosity, and doubts. And really, these are things that really work in inhibiting individuals from trying to make a difference in their community. And so Brothers Breaking Bread serves as an outlet for people to try to make those differences and working to have those conversations that reject stigmas associated with Blackness, as well as dealing with relevant issues of misogyny and homophobia, and trying to ensure that our members are able to speak on these types of things and go into the community and really ensure that they're bettering it. So again, I want to thank you all for coming here and really working with Brothers Breaking Bread. It's talking to Philip Bailey. He's really a testament to our organization's mission of reframing and restructuring the Black masculine concept and really working to help better our community. So thank you.
And finally, as we conclude, I would like to introduce our moderator for this evening and the man that has helped make this all possible, Mr. Dave Velasco. Dave currently serves as faculty in the USC Marshall School of Business, as well as the Performance Science Institute, which the Performance Science Institute teaches and researches the science and best practices for high-performance mindset. I personally was introduced to Dave a month ago. He was the co-moderator of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which was the Black History Month speaker for Black Student Assembly. And he will be leading us through this event tonight with Philip Bailey and also moderating our discussion. So please welcome Dave Velasco.
Hey. Thank you. What a great day to be at USC, huh? Whew, a great day. Thank you, May and Jade. We are pleased to be presenting tonight's experience with the Black Student Assembly, Brothers Breaking Bread, the CBCSA, the USC Black Alumni Association, and Vision and Voices, thanks to Daria. On behalf of the USC Marshall's Performance Science Institute, it's our pleasure to welcome you to this special talk and musical performance with Philip Bailey. He's here to share his life, his music, and to put a little bounce back in our step. I don't know about you, but it's been a challenging year here at USC, and I'm ready to have some fun. How about you guys? Before we bring out Philip, I wanted to briefly share the mission and offerings of the Performance Science Institute because we are fairly new. PSI teaches and researches the science and best practices of high-performance mindset. That means the science of grit, gratitude, optimism, courage, mindfulness. Come to think of it, add devotion, and you've got an Earth, Wind, and Fire album right there. Our goal is to give USC students a competitive advantage in their lives and in their careers by understanding how their brains and bodies function, and how to regulate emotion to optimize performance. PSI has classes, mine and Dr. Fox's The Science of Peak Performance, a minor, an active student club, a themed residential college in USC Village, and offers scholarships to USC students mastering their craft, regardless of field, or overcoming adversity to excel at USC. Those latter scholarships are called the Jake Olson Vision Award and Scholarships, in honor of graduating student Jake Olson. Our internal team includes Dr. Glenn Fox, a neuroscientist who specializes in the science of gratitude and positive emotion, Dr. Ben Holtberg, a renowned researcher and psychologist leading the field on purpose-based identity and performance, Professor Ariana Uhald in marketing, whose new class, Happiness and Wellbeing in the Marketplace, is available for fall registration for you students, and Haley Barros, our utility player supporting research, student programs, and anything happening at PSI, including tonight's event. We are also fortunate to count on Dr. Robin Schofield, who heads up USC's sports psychology team for USC Athletics. She's an invaluable contributor to PSI. So that's our internal team. Our external advisors include NFL head coach Pete Carroll and high-stakes sports psychologist Michael Gervais, who both helped create the Institute, along with Ariana Huffington and Dr. Brene Brown. Some of you may have attended PSI events last year featuring Alex Honnold, the subject of the 2019 Academy Award-winning film Free Solo. For those of you who don't know, Alex climbed the 3,000-foot sheer face of El Capitan in Yosemite with no ropes or safety gear in 3 hours. And we learned competitive mindset and Mamba mentality from Laker great Kobe Bryant, who shared his approach to practice and his tolerance for slackers.
You're going to show up to play, and you're going to lollygag through this scrimmage, through this drill. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to let you know I beat you, and I'm going to want you to reconsider your professional life choice.
I mean, think about it. You only get this type of exposure in these types of guest lectures at USC. So by researching and teaching high-performance mindset, one can understand why we want students to learn from outliers and practice leaders in all fields: business, the arts, sports, social impact, and music. And if you're studying musicians, it seems like a natural fit to invite the leader of a musical group whose identity is built on positivity, enlightenment, and what connects us as humans. Earth, Wind, and Fire was singing about these concepts decades before they became mainstream. Our guest today is Philip Bailey, lead singer, writer, and musician with the iconic band Earth, Wind, and Fire. As a core member of the group, Philip added his vocal and instrumental stylings to a string of hits that established Earth, Wind, and Fire as one of the most musically accomplished, critically acclaimed, and commercially successful bands in history. With 17 Grammy nominations and more than 100 million albums sold, Earth, Wind, and Fire earned the Recording Academy's Lifetime Achievement Award and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Put the awards... Put the awards and stats aside, Earth, Wind, and Fire's music just makes you feel good. It just makes you want to dance. And Philip wants us up and dancing today. I know my family, my friends are here. You don't have to ask us twice. We're going to be dancing. For the younger people in the audience who may not know as much about Earth, Wind, and Fire, we're excited for you to learn from Philip and enjoy the music. For the staff, alumni, parents, and friends who grew up listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire, this is for you. You know what's coming. You ready? Yes. You ready? Let's get it going. Please give a warm welcome to our special guest, Mr. Philip Bailey. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Have a seat. Yes, yes. He's here. You're really here.
And I'm so honored to be here. I really am.
It's we're going to tell you the story of how we met. You're probably wondering, why does a business professor get to interview Philip Bailey? I know. One, I'm lucky, and two, there's a story behind it that we'll share later. We're just so glad to have you here, your family here, and just to introduce some new people to maybe someone who hasn't heard Earth, Wind, and Fire as much. What I'd like to do is, before we go back into your life a little bit, talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire today. You're as busy as ever.
Man,
you just came off a residency in Vegas.
Yeah.
Tell us about Earth, Wind, and Fire's schedule and life today.
Well, we're always, first of all, it's quite an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah. My family and I are humbled and just looking forward to sharing with you. And this guy right here, he's been in my life for, quite a few years now, and we've become great friends. And so thank you again for inviting me.
It's a dream come true for us. Thank you. So tell us about Earth, Wind, and Fire today.
Man, we stay busy. Yeah, I mean, and we wouldn't have thought, almost 50 years ago, in the 70s when, we started this stuff, that we would be going as strong as we are. You don't even think 50 years later, at 21 years old, And so we wouldn't have thought that we would be doing this long, and we're still doing it globally, internationally, to pack out audiences and, still doing them, having a lot of fun. We're really kind of like, I think we're probably enjoying it more now than ever before, because we realize how hard it is to really, have that kind of longevity and stuff, but we're having a good time.
And there are 3 original members still with the band, you, Verdine White on bass,
Right.
and Ralph
Johnson, right.
Percussionist. But you've added people around it who are just amazingly talented musicians. We're going to meet a few of them later. I wanted to give everyone a little context and background because it's just so important to know where people come from. And you've got such an interesting life. If you haven't read his autobiography, Shining Star, I really recommend it. It takes you to places, and particularly those of us who were alive in the 70s, just really makes you feel that moment in time. But your background, can you share with us where you grew up and sort of your childhood, and at what age you were attracted to music, and what instruments were you playing in junior and senior high school?
Oh, okay. Any Coloradans here?
Both of them.
Okay, he said both of them. Interesting, because for me, when I tell people that I'm from Denver, it's not so much now, but, in the past, they say, I didn't know black people lived in Denver, But yeah, I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and there was never a time that music actually just caught me. It was more like, my mom said I was singing before I was talking, and, I just had all this music in my head, and so I would be singing different stuff, and one day my mom said, where'd you get that song? And I said, I hear it in my head. I said, you don't hear it? Because I just took for granted that everybody just had this, this radio going on in their head, because I've always had this radio going on, forever, so, I hear, music has always been kind of like my Pied Piper, I'm attracted to it, and it goes over here and goes over there, so.
And what instruments did you play at, was it Cole Junior High and Manual High School?
Well, I started on drums, and beating on trash cans and stuff, my mother got tired of that and finally, saved up enough money to get me some drums. And I would march down the street, just going to school and stuff, in the 4th grade. I can imagine how stupid I looked. Can you imagine somebody marching down the street playing a drum? It's like, I had my drumsticks with me everywhere I went, but music actually kept me away from a lot of stuff. It not only led me in certain directions, but it also protected me in certain ways that I wasn't attracted to certain things because I was so caught up in the pursuit of music, the sound. I left the house one day and I heard this jazz quartet practicing at this house, and it sounded like music from heaven to me, And so, even though I was playing music at that point, I was like probably, in the 8th or 9th grade, 7th grade, I heard what it's supposed to sound like. And so I was always in the pursuit of, okay, that's what it's supposed to sound like.
And early on played a lot of different instruments. And is it true that as a high schooler, you led a double life where you'd play music in school, the band, and at night you were playing in clubs?
Well, I was playing in the band at school. I would play clubs gigs from, I think it was like 8 to 12. And then on the weekends, I would play after hours from 1 to 6 in the morning at another spot. But I would be playing drums at that place and singing at the other place. So it was always, and then when I was in school, it was always going from the band to the choir. We had a program, I would play drums and then go to the choir and stuff, so.
So you're leading a double life. I read in his book that he was so young he couldn't get into these bars he was supposed to play.
Yeah.
So you wore fake mustaches to look
Well,
older?
I would do everything I could. I would do everything I could. My daughter, who is my assistant and co-manager, she's 43, and still people, always think she's like, teenager or something. I always have to go, she's grown. But I was like that when I was growing up, and so you can't imagine, me sitting in a club somewhere, and with a cigarette, looking like I'm, 13, it's crazy.
So in 1970, we'll skip forward a little bit because there's so much to do and so much to talk about. In 1970, you meet Maurice White, the founder and visionary of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Can you share with us how you met him, but then more when he, I guess it was a couple years later, when he invited you to join the band? Can you share with us the pitch that he made and how he explained the concept of Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Well, the concept kind of came later, but I was out here, and I'll make it short, through a friend of both of ours. I was playing percussion and music, and later on musical director for this band called the Stovall Sisters, which was kind of a gospel rock group. And so I would play, and when they had rehearsals, I would sing all their songs so they wouldn't have to sing them. So they, recognized that I could sing, and they gave me a song in the show. Verdines, who's the bass player for Earth, Wind, and Fire, heard me sing at one of these at Mavericks Flats, and
Crenshaw.
Right, on Crenshaw.
Crenshaw.
And before that, Maurice and Verdine had played in Denver. Our band opened the show, so I kind of knew them. Fast forward, that band that I was musical director of broke up, and right when I was wondering what I was going to do, I was married and we had our first son was out there. When I was wondering what I was going to do, Maurice and Verdine came over and asked me to be, did I have any interest in being in a band? And I said, on one condition. And they said, what's that? And I said, I want to be in the best band in the whole world. And they looked at each other and said, you're in.
That's so good.
So that, that's how it. And then I ate oatmeal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for about, a year or so. Because every time, we thought we were getting ready to go do a gig, sometime we'd be on our way to the airport, and then we'd get a call that it fell through, and back to the drawing board. and right before I was trying to contemplate if I should be a computer specialist or go to school or something, a friend where I was staying said, look, either you're a musician, if you're a musician, go in there and practice. If you're going to be a computer specialist, sell all your drums and do it. I went back, started practicing. The next gig we had, it wasn't canceled, and we went back east, and that started the whole story.
So you joined the band in 1972 with Maurice White became the front man and voice for Earth, Wind, and Fire. Can you share the story briefly of the ground zero for the journey of Earth, Wind, and Fire in 1972 at the Uptown Theater in Philadelphia? Just take us back to that.
Yeah, Uptown Theater is probably, it's not quite as large as this place. But at that time, there was a lot of doo-wop groups, and they had all the steps and all this kind of stuff. And Earth, Wind, and Fire, we were blazing a whole new trail. So we were on this gig with all these doo-wop groups. And when we first came out to play, Philadelphia is a tough place to play. And they were throwing stuff at us, get off the stage and all this stuff. So Maurice said, he said, we're going to sit down in a lotus position, And we already was dressed real strange for that time. We didn't, So we sat down in the lotus position. He said, just be still. So we just sat there. And so when the crowd kind of simmered down, Maurice started playing the kalimba, I brought out, because now I play it. So I started playing the kalimba, and then Ronnie Law started improvising over the kalimba, and Verdine went into this bass groove, and we won the audience over. It was the first night that we really knew that we had something special, and Maurice said, either they're going to love you or they're going to hate you, but it never should be in the middle.
It's just such great history to hear it sort of in person. I want you to share, there's a title of a song and sort of your theme. And you went back to Colorado after you were with the band, and you went back home, and you sort of contemplated life and thought about yourself. Can you share the story of what you reflected on and how those two words became really important to you?
What words?
The title of your book, the title of a song, what you use in your Twitter feed.
I'm trying to see exactly where you were.
Just the meaning of Shining Star.
Oh, okay. Our music period found a whole new purpose for Maurice as a leader, and really saw it as a way to bridge, gaps, to encourage and to uplift and to, make a real positive impact, with music, that more than just playing for entertainment, that it would, have a deeper purpose and a meaning and stuff. And so, it's always been that deeper purpose in what we do and why we do it, what I do and why I do what I do.
And Shining Star has been sort of a guiding mantra for you, and the people that you encourage. I think whether it's through Twitter or social media, you always encourage people with Shining Star moments. Would you treat us to a little bit of Shining Star, please?
Oh yeah, sure.
How about some Shining Star for
Can
the
I get
audience?
Hey, can I get some water?
Yeah.
Hey, and we're graced with Everett Hart. Give him a big round of applause right there. This man, thank you so much.
Water, please.
One of the premier saxophonists of our day, and he was so gracious to come out and to give us a hand. These other wonderful musicians from right here, give them a big round of applause. And Myron's going to introduce the other guys to you.
On guitar, we have Kyle Bolden. Put your hands together for him. On bass, Mr. Ian Martin. Drums, Stacy Lamont Sidnor. Aaron Janae on trumpet. Ivan Millsman on trombone. They are graduates from USC. Your home musicians.
My beautiful wife, Valerie Bailey, on vocals. And my son, Philip Duran Bailey, on vocals. And he was at the School of Berkeley, yes. So you guys ready? All right, let's do this. A little shining star.
Yeah, we wish upon a dream. Life ain't always what it seems, oh yeah. What you see your nights are clear. It's a sky so very dear. Oh yeah, you shine star. Sing it with me. No matter who you are, it's all about to say what you truly be. Could truly be. Shine that comes into view. Shine that spotful light on you. Give you strength to carry on, yeah. Your body big and strong, yeah. Now I got my own, oh yeah, oh yeah. So we can find yourself in me. Why do you have to listen to these words of his? Be the shining grain of sand, yeah. Well, with the wisdom, yes I can. Hey, sing it if you know it. Come on. You shine star, no matter who you are. I can see what you truly be. You shine star, no matter who you are. I shine bright to see what you can truly be. You a shining star, no matter who you are. Shining bright to see what you can truly be. Yeah, you shining star, no matter who you are. Shining bright to see. Hey, everybody, clap your hands with us. Here we go. Shining star for you to see. Come on, everybody. Come on, shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be. Shining star, all right now, what's your life? Shining star, come on, what's your life? Shining star, what's your life? Shining star. What's your life? Shining star. Yeah, now. They sound great or what?
This is what it feels like, huh? That energy right here. I need my iPad and my chairs. I've memorized most of this. But so Shining Star was released in 1973. on one of the greatest albums of all time, entitled That's the Way of the World. I need my iPad that was on there. Here's how prepared I am. I have a second iPad off stage just in case this happens. No joke.
Master told me one day that I'd find peace in every way, but in search for the clue, wrong things I was bound to do. Keep my head to the sky, for the clouds to tell me why, as I grew that kept me as I repent. And he said, keep right to the sky, keep right to the sky. Well, he gave me the will to be free. Purpose to live is reality. Wow, then I found myself never alone. Chances came to make me strong. This right up, be a man. You need faith to understand. So what's saying for you to hear? Keep going to the sky, to the sky. Keep going to the sky. Don't walk around with your head hung down. Keep going to the
You know, I think that in this moment, Victor is on my mind, on my heart. And we are pressed on so many sides with so much craziness in this world today, you know? And, you know, you got to find some way to, as they say now today, playing it forward, you know, finding a way to use your strength, your gift, your person to make a positive impact in your community, in your families, and in this world today, you know. And that song, it really wasn't even part of the program, you know. You know, it really wasn't, you know. But when you find yourself in the center of your purpose, of your created purpose, you find that there's some really unexplainable things that happen, you know, in terms of where you go and what you do and the impact that you have, you know. So keep your head to the sky.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for saying that. It has been a tough year here at USC, and having you here, all of you here, really brings up our spirits. So thank you for being here. So we just finished Shining Star off this wonderful album. That's like original album cover. That was 1973. You talked about this being, you know, some of the best of times of Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think you co-wrote or wrote 5 of the 8 songs on that album. Shining Star was the band's first #1 hit, both on Top 40, R&B, Billboard, and it won a Grammy for Best R&B Performance by a Duo Group with instrumental and vocals. In your book, you called it the happiest time for Earth, Wind, and Fire. Can you share what about that time made it so special and why you felt it was just a creative renaissance for you?
Well, it's kind of like, you know, a ball team winning the Super Bowl. Actually, you know, all those players know that as talented as they are, that it's not only them, that, you know, the front office and people behind the scenes and some people whose names will never be mentioned, you know, if they had not been there, then those things wouldn't have happened. And so we were just enthralled in a time that we were circled with a lot of different talented people. You know, it would take too much time to go into right now. But you know, you're never alone. You're never doing anything, you know, by yourself. And the impact that you're having is never just impacting you, but it's impacting, you know, people around you.
And you played. I mean, you followed up. That's the way the world with Gratitude, which debuted as #1 and stayed there, I think, for 6-7 weeks, and it was triple platinum. Then just listen to this for a decade. Then came Spirit, All in All, Best of Earth, Wind, and Fire, Volume 1, and I Am. In 10 years, in the 1970s, they put out 11 albums. That's a lot of writing.
Yeah.
Prolific songwriters. And Earth, Wind, and Fire was having so much success that it sort of even changed the record business, particularly for executives. Can you share how that changed the business?
Well, it did. I mean, you know, like everyone loves success. And, you know, if you see record companies at that time where, you know, if they see someone onto something, you know, then they want to, you know, let's follow this trend, this, you know. And so it wasn't actually until we actually broke up and went on the hiatus that we actually were able to get a feel for the impact that we'd had on the musician and on the, you know, the music industry.
Yeah, a friend of mine who's here, Steve McKeever, who's in the music business, says the music business is a race to be second. As soon as someone's got a great act, we want one of those too.
Right. Exactly.
So you just referred to I think it was 1983. Tell us about the hiatus and the meeting that you had with more. So this is after a day. You know, we're cutting this down for time, but a decade of just dominance, of sold-out stadiums and private planes and renting the entire floor of hotels because, you know, the security had to keep them away from fans. I mean, they were the biggest band in the world. And then in 1983, Maurice called you for a meeting?
Unbeknownst, we had a meeting, and, we were told, that he was going to put the band, quote unquote, on the back burner for a while, and that, he was going to, he didn't really know what he was going to do, but he was going to pursue a solo career. And this was just like out of nowhere. Well, there was a lot of stress going on before that, but we can't go into all that. And so, can you imagine, okay, we got into the band from mama to the band, you know what I'm saying? From being at home, because we turned 21 in Earth, Wind, and Fire. So many of us came out of college, out from college or whatever to Earth, Wind, and Fire. So, we're very naive to what life had in store, and then after a few years, we made it, and we were really hot. So, you're like, the world's your oyster. You really have this false sense of security about, what's going on. Phil was little. He was like, lap baby, And so we said, and so, when he said, okay, we're going to put the band on the back burner, all the checks stopped. I went to some place, the credit card bounced, and like, okay, reality set in, and, those kinds of things that seem like the worst of times turned out when you look back on it to be very pivotal in your growth and your possibility, because you need both. You need the ups and you need the downs, and you need to know how to survive the downs so that you can be up.
So how do you do, to go from that height to a very abrupt, you don't have a steady gig anymore.
Well, that kind of created the opportunity for Easy Lover.
Yeah.
With Phil Collins, and the solo projects. We're just talking about careers right now in music. Of course, life is you're living life too. So there's a lot of other even more important things that impact what was going on too. But we're talking about music.
Yeah. So as a kid, and your first love was jazz, and so even though you're, a mainstream leader of a pop and R&B band, a soul band, your roots are still in jazz. I've
Right.
seen you play with people with, no introduction and let's go, and you just get up and go. Can you treat us to something that sort of takes you back to your jazz roots?
Yeah. Jazz for me, that's the music that I felt free, like I could fly. And, because it's unexpected, and, and all the colors and, all the wonderful possibilities that goes on. So as a kid, I was very much in love with jazz.
And just the people behind you, to have the freedom to know that these musicians behind you can go anywhere you want to go and take them.
That's the reason why Everett that's my hero right there.
We're going to talk about him. So
The hero.
why don't you share a little bit of, now for those of you who know Earth, Wind, Fire, you may know this song, but you will rarely hear this song performed. And so please introduce this song and tell us what you
but
say.
this is a song that we did with Ramsey Lewis, and Maurice was actually the drummer with Ramsey Lewis, and when he decided to leave and form Earth, Wind, and Fire, and when he did that, we actually got a chance to go back to Chicago, and he wrote this song called Sun Goddess that we're going to do and feature the incomparable Mr. Everett Hart right there. Everett Hart. All I'm gonna play some Clem later too.
Oh, yes. Good call. Good.
All right, ready? Go, Mike. Come on, clap your hands, everybody. Put your hands together. That feels good.
That is just, why are we even talking? Why are we even talking? That is, it just, every time I see this much talent, it just takes my breath away. So Patrice Rushin, who runs our contemporary music program at the Thornton School, she couldn't be here. She brought you and Ralph and Verdine 3 years ago. But in her place, she sent two amazingly talented young musicians. Please, Ivan Malspin and Aaron Janik. I hope their professors excuse them from class today. It was worth it. I do want to, I'm so glad you got to hear Everett Harp play.
Woo, is he in, oh, that's crazy.
Everett, come up here for a second. Can I grab one of these mics just for a second? Just give it to Everett. This is a guy who, hello there. Yeah, this is your life, Everett. Everett is a dear, dear friend, and honestly, you know, is someone who has shown up for us and he flew from Australia to Pennsylvania to here. He hasn't been home in 30 days to be here because I asked him to do this.
That's love.
And can you turn on the house lights for a second? Because the audience, I'm going to need the audience participation in a second. So on top of that, he doesn't know what time it is. He's like 12 hours off. And on Saturday, his dear wife, Jerry, broke her foot. And so he had every reason not to be here. And he asked Jerry, and she said, no, I want you to go because it's USC and it's Dave. So I would like your help in saying a Get Well Jerry video that I'm going to do this for you. I'm always ready. I'm always ready. So I'm going to say on three, and you guys are going to, that's really bright. On three, Get Well Jerry, very loudly. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Get Well Jerry! Everett Harp, ladies and gentlemen.
I get brownie points for that one.
So I'd say anyone who knows me, I met Everett in when I started a business, 1994. We're going to talk about what we did together and what we built together. But you know, he played at my wedding, he played at my birthday, and if you outlast me, and I'm going to fight you, you'll be playing at the end. So I just can't thank you enough for. What do you mean? That's my funeral. I'm gone. But you've been like a soundtrack to the best parts of my life, and you've been part of it as well. So thank you, Everett. Thank you for flying.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Is that? I love you.
Was that Barry White?
What's that?
Was that Barry White? He's like,
yeah, I love you, man. I love you. Everett. We're working on Everett, you know.
Everett, I'm gonna have, when Valerie calls me, I'm gonna tape you so that when she calls at the hotel, you could just say, "Hey, Val."
What is it about the power of music that really just, no other art form changes your mood as quickly? You can look at a great movie, you can look at a great piece of art, but music just transports us. What is it about, what does it feel to be a voice and to play music?
Well, it goes beyond words, right? Right? Yeah, it goes beyond words. That's what it is. It's beyond what we can explain or, you know, really, you know, articulate, you know, the joy that we get from being a musician and making music, and the joy that we get from you receiving it and appreciating it goes with, you know, it's unwordable.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's something, I think, physiological that happens, and I mean, it's not just playing the music, but listening to music that just has an effect on us. It's interesting. We have a Brain and Creativity Institute that studies music in the brain. Dr. Hassal Abibi is like the leading scientist on this. And it shows that she's done an 8 or 9 year study doing brain scans on children exposed to music. They're taking instrument lessons, and their brains develop faster, larger, and more complex. And so it's not just like, oh, the arts and music is a nice thing to have. It's actually essential for growth and development. So I can't imagine the importance of music in your life, and as a fan, it changes how we feel. You always say it connects to a deeper purpose. Do you have a personal philosophy? Do you have a philosophy that you live by or core values that you can share with us?
Oh, most definitely. I'm a Christian, and actually in my life moving around, that I talk a lot about it in the book. But definitely, it's connecting with your purpose is, your intended purpose is so key, to living a fulfilling life, and to being whole, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually.
I mentioned at the outset Dr. Ben Holtberg, who studies purpose-based identity. So a lot of us, probably a lot of students out here, did very well on tests and have high GPAs. And how many of you tie your self-esteem and identity to results and achievement? Sheepishly. Guess what? Spoiler alert, that's not a good thing. The more you can connect to purpose and tie your life to purpose, the less sort of the results will matter and the ups and downs won't feel so bad. So purpose-based identity is sort of something that we're studying here. You talk about the power of music to transform, to heal, to transport us. This song that you have prepared for us, it gets better every time you listen to it. It really is something that takes us away. And I know some of you out there think you can sing these parts. I know. We've all tried it, right? In the car, you're like, I think I can get that high. Then you turn down the volume and sing, and you're like, I can't get that high. I'll sing the bass. So it's a song that's just so beautiful, and it just really personifies the band in the 1970s. Could you please treat us to Fantasy?
Oh, sure.
Oh, get up, get up, get up.
Every man has a place in his heart, has a space, and the world can't erase his fantasy. Take a ride in the sky, on a ship inside. All your dreams will come true right away, and we will live together until the 12 of never. Our voices will read forever as one. Come on, clap your hands with us. Every thought is a dream, rushing by in a stream, bringing life to the kingdom of doing. Take a ride in the sky, on a ship and side. All your dreams will come true right away. Our voices will read together until the 12 of never. We all will live long forever as one. Come to see victory in a land called fantasy. No life for you and me to be whole, to your soul is ecstasy. You
I just want to take it slow in case you've got any other things to surprise us. Those are all bonuses, guys. I'm enjoying it. Are you guys having fun? Anytime you feel the Spirit take you and you need to play something, I'll just run away. It is the best feeling just to sit back and watch you do what you do. We have another segment or two, and I want to talk about living a life and serving others and elevating others. You've got a charity that you've started with Trinity and your family called Music is Unity. Trinity, you're welcome to come up here and join us if you'd like. I know you probably, if you're over there. But can you explain what Music is Unity does and why you're so supportive about it? Yes.
Oh, well, Music is Unity is an organization that Trinity and my daughter Trinity and I founded about 10 years ago. And it's a foundation that supports emancipated foster care youth. Does anybody know what that means? So for 10 years, we a portion of all our proceeds, ticket proceeds, go to funding organizations who are helping young folks that are transitioning out of foster care. And it was interesting because we had the opportunity to bring several of these gifted people to the house, and Phil and several of my kids. I have seven grandchildren and 7 children. And so several of the kids were at the house when they came over and shared some of their stories. And it's such an underserved charity because we all know that how much help and support we need, at that age, from 15 to 25, So we have a thing that we call our backstage sound check program. And so we invite folks who are interested in the music industry to come to our concerts, and before the concerts, we introduce them all the different facets of the touring community. And then they join us for the show, and so it's been great.
It's such important work, and you've been involved with it. Gosh, how long has it been? Almost 10 years.
It's been over 10 years.
Yeah, and I watched it grow.
So you can check it out. I'm sorry. Find out more about it at musicisunity.org. Yeah, musicisunity.org.
Oh, okay. We're putting websites behind you this whole time.
All right.
We're not messing around.
All right.
We're not messing around. So I really encourage you all to do that. I've watched you, up close a couple times, and I've watched what a giving spirit you have, and how you really do walk the talk of Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, all those words and those platitudes are nice to sing about, but I've watched the way you treat people. It was pretty interesting. A few years back, I'll tell you about this concert, but there was a young woman who was awarded a scholarship to the Eastman School of Music, and Philip was in town in New York for Earth, Wind, and Fire, and he texted me, "Where do I get a good cup of coffee?"
Yeah,
and I'm like,
espresso junkie, but not Starbucks. I'm sorry.
There goes the endorsement.
Sorry, Starbucks.
There goes the endorsement. And so
they gotten better though.
He says, "Where do I get a cup of coffee?" I tell him this place around the corner from his hotel. He goes down there, and a young friend who received a scholarship from a concert that he put on goes down there to thank him. This is a lesson on gratitude, by the way. So she goes to the coffee shop, greets him, says hello, tells him that, thank you for providing the scholarship for me to go to school. Do you remember what you asked her?
I don't remember.
Where's your horn? She's a saxophone player.
Right.
Where's your horn? And what'd you tell her to do?
I asked her to come up and play with us that night.
So she goes to sound check. There's probably some photos at the back of that PowerPoint slide if you have that, if you want to go in the back of it, if you find them. But she texts me. The text reads, I'm going to see Philip. And then the next text is, he invited me to play.
Oh my God.
Is this real life? Is this real life? Go to the next slide that shows, okay, so not only does she play, Philip introduces her and gives her a 7-minute solo in the middle of an Earth, Wind & Fire concert. I mean, you talk about changing someone's life. And then he comes in and scats with her. And then he brings her telephone and starts photographing and videoing her on screen. Full service musician here. So that's one of the stories. And I want to share the one that's most personal to me. You know, in the book, you were so busy traveling that your family wasn't around. And now it's so great that your family, you got 3 family members here, Phil, Valerie, Trinity's out there running stuff, running the world. Speaking of, my family's here as well. So I've got my sister and my niece here, and I want to share with you what we've done. So we met through Everett Harp, and we built this concert in Rochester, New York, in our backyard. Started like really small, like local musicians. Then we called Everett Harp, and we said, do you think people from California would fly in to play for this? And Everett did, and he was the cornerstone. And then he started inviting his friends. So it turned into a full-day concert in the backyard. Yep. This is the backyard. And if you think this is really fancy, don't. The houses across the street are $35,000. This is not a place that normally gets Earth, Wind, and Fire to play in the backyard. And so all the proceeds from the concert go to scholarships for musicians to attend, jazz scholarships to the Eastman School of Music. But here's where it gets funny. So Myron McKinley is going to remember this. Myron is here over my shoulder. By the way, Myron is the musical director for Earth, Wind, and Fire. And a detail that's very important to this audience, he's an alum of USC and the Thornton School of Music, Myron. Yeah. So this is not one of my better moments I'm going to share with you, but it gets there. So our family, puts out the food and picks up the artists from the airport and the cars. Like, it's a fully family-run event. And we work on this thing for 6 months to have this one day of music. And through a miscommunication on my part, the musicians miss rehearsal in Los Angeles. And Myron tells me they miss rehearsal. Everett, who's a perfectionist, says, well, it just will do what it's going to do. And I sort of lose my mind. I'm a little bit tired. You might remember this one. So I had a bit of a meltdown on the phone. And I've never spoken to Philip at this point, but Myron's probably had enough of me. Lesson number 1, by the way, once musicians take over, get out of the way. Just really get out of the way. And that's my lesson. Everett taught me that explicitly, by the way. And so here's what happened. So I'm having a bit of a meltdown. The concert's in 2 days. We've worked on it for 9 months, and the band hasn't played together. So Myron, I'm sort of, not yelling at Myron, but just complaining. He hands the phone to Philip. I've never spoken before. And Philip says, David, it's Philip. Don't worry about anything. I'm going to put a concert on. I'm going to put a show on that's so good, you're going to want to kiss me. But I'm not going to let you. And he hands the phone back. And he hands the phone back to Myron. And that's the end of that. But here's where a moment that we'll never forget. So Philip is a consummate professional. He showed, whether it's a small gig like ours or it's Staples Center, he treats it the same way, the way you treat practice. And he shows up for sound check. And he's in our backyard. And imagine, I have 3 sisters and nieces and nephews, and we're all like putting up the seats and the tags and where everyone's going to sit. This starts in 3 hours. And then Philip Bailey starts singing September for just you. And all of us instinctively dropped everything in our hands and just walked to the stage and just started dancing there. And sure enough, he put on a concert that Rochester, New York will never forget. Here's a shot of him singing, and then here's the night shot of what this thing looked like. And we raised 80 scholarships for students to go to school. But while we're talking about how much you've changed people's lives, like you made a dent in our family's life that we'll never forget. Our family, this is back after the show, and even though you said I couldn't, I still got to kiss you. I still got to kiss you. Do you see this?
That's funny.
And to this day, I can't apologize to Myron enough. It was just one of those moments. But you really did give us something that we'll never forget. Thank you for everything you've done for music, for all those scholarships you created, and for our family personally. It really has been such a wonder for us to know you and to meet you, and now to know your family. I want to finish on this closing. You know, I read something in your book, and your mother and my mother said the same thing when you did something well. What'd they say? You done good.
All right, right.
You done good.
Yeah.
You done good. I want you to share the last story of you. Obama is elected president, and the first social function that he has is the governor's ball, and invites Earth, Wind, and Fire. Can you share the scene of what that was like to perform for the president?
Well, we'd have the pleasure of also playing for the Clinton administration too, I think several times. But, you know, this is definitely unprecedented for us as African Americans, you know, the first African American president. And when we were asked to do that, we actually played about 3 events for his administration. But it was an out-of-body experience for us, as you can imagine. And we were playing there in the green room, and he came down, you know, to meet us, you know, in sound check, so regular, you know, so approachable. And that night when we started playing, I think what we were playing might have been Reasons or something, you know, or you know, and he says, "That's my jam."
That is everybody's jam. I think there was a population surge about 9 to 10 months after that song debuted. That is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. Yeah, and but I think to sort of give everyone the song that it leads off every wedding, every bar mitzvah, every party gets us dancing. It's got to be September. It's got to be September.
Do you remember 21st night of September? Love was changing the mind of pretenders, chasing the clouds away. Are the ringing in the key that soul singing as we dance through the night? Remember how we do love to see to stay. Hey, y'all gonna sing this with us? Come on. With you, holding hands with your heart to see you. Only blue talking love. Remember how we knew love was here to stay. wonderful musician. A well-deserved round of applause, everybody.
You know, sometimes life is perfect. Today's the day life is just perfect, so thank you for being here. Don't go anywhere. We got one more thing that we want you to see. So I want to invite a student to upstage. Is Jania Green here to come and wants to help us with a little bit of a presentation? Jania? Come through the smoke, Jania. Come through the smoke. I didn't know there was smoke in Bovard. Right here.
Hello, my name is Jania Green. I'm the co-president of the Performance Science Club here on campus. And just want to say thank you all coming out, and thank you for coming to join us. On behalf of USC students and the USC Performance Science Institute, we are making a contribution to Music is Unity. Also, on behalf of the USC Performance Science Institute, we are presenting this award, the very first Music and Mindset Awards to you. Thank you very much.
Here you go. Get in here. There you go. There's one more person I want you to meet, and I want Philip to meet. This person, we got boxed with safekeeping for that. This person's been at USC for 49 years. 49 years, and he retires next year. And I want him to come out because we've got a very special connection to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Will you please welcome the director of the USC Marching Band, Dr. Arthur C. Barton.
Thank you, sir.
You want a mic? Let me get a mic. Let me get you a mic. As you know, Bartner doesn't need a mic. He's got that voice. Dr. Bartner. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's great to have you here, Art. So, the USC band is the most famous marching band in the world, actually. The only band with 2 platinum records. They've played with everyone from Fleetwood Mac to Radiohead to Beyonce to Diana Ross. And they've got a great connection with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Art and I have lunch occasionally, and at his place at McKay's, at his table. That's the only place that he eats lunch. And so we were celebrating another event, and we're having lunch, and I said, Art, you know, you're retiring in 3 years. Who is it? Is there anyone else on your wish list of bands that you want to play with before you retire? And what did you say?
I said, Philip Bailey and Earth, Wind, and Fire.
You know, you sort of think we're making this up, but and I said, that happens to be one person I actually know in life. What a coincidence. And Art and I went outside McKay's and recorded this video message to Philip. Philip, it's Dave Belasco and Art Bartner at USC, and we are dying to get you here to do a concert, Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Trojan Band. You in?
I'm in.
Fight on.
Fight on.
I mean, you got to hear, he giggled at the end. I don't know if you heard that, but look at that smile. And 10 minutes later, we received this response.
Hey guys, well, we're on tour right now, but hopefully we can make that happen. Good to see you, Dave. All right, you guys take care.
Bart, please, share the history of the band with Earth, Wind, and Fire and what you've got there on that stick.
In 1980, the Rose Bowl against the University of Michigan, my alma mater, we premiered In the Stone. And, by the way, USC won that game. So that's the first time we've played that, and now we've been playing it for almost 40 years, and we open every rock concert post-game after the school songs, of course, with In the Stone. Wow. So it's famous in our repertoire. Is that enough, David?
They're all favorites, but there's nothing like In the Stone.
So it is now a great honor on behalf of the University of Southern California to make Philip Bailey an honorary member of the Trojan Marching Band.
Get in here. You get in here. Get in there for a picture. Come on, man. That's the band. That's the band. Woo. That's the real deal right there. You want me to carry that? That's the real deal.
So I'm actually a part of the band?
Yes, you are.
Can I actually play with the band?
What do you think? What do you think? Bring the band on!
Go get him.
What? In the Stone? I found the love provides the key, unlocks the heart and souls of you and me. Love will learn to sing your song. It's written in the stone. Every man I meet is walking time, free to wander past his conscience mind. Love will come and take you home. It's written in the stone. In the stone, you find me. You're not standing tall. alone. Forever, forever, my darling. True love is written in the stone. Never, never, my darling. Never you'll be alone. Forever, forever, my darling. True love is written in the stone.
How about that band? Let's give a thank you to all the musicians, the Trojan Marching Band, our partner, all the Baileys, and the one and only Philip Bailey. Only at USC, only at USC. Have a great night. Fight on, fight on. Yeah.
You going out? You walking out?